It started on a Tuesday evening, the kind of warm, drifting dusk that makes you believe nothing bad could ever happen. The lake outside my uncle's cabin caught the last orange streaks of the sun. Inside, the air smelled like firewood and old books, still and undisturbed, except for the soft hum of a fan in the corner. Uncle Ron had dozed off in his recliner, mouth slightly open, a half-empty beer bottle resting on his chest. The old man trusted me to house-sit while he recuperated after a minor surgery. I'd just turned 24 and had no plans for the summer except killing time, helping out, and maybe getting some writing done in the quiet. Then she knocked. Her name was Elise. 46, according to the stories Uncle Ron had told me over the years, a good woman, classy, but she's been through it. She was his longtime friend, neighbor, and apparently someone who didn't need to knock before walking in. But this time she had. When I opened the door, she looked tired. Not just physically, but like she'd been carrying something heavy in her chest for weeks. Her lips parted like she meant to speak, but instead, she gave a faint smile and held up a Tupperware dish. "Chicken pot pie," she said. I figured he'd forget to feed himself. Her eyes lingered on me a beat too long. I let her in, and we stood awkwardly near the counter while she unwrapped the dish and slid it into the oven. We made small talk, how the summer storms had been relentless, how her garden was finally blooming, how I looked just like my mom. It was all ordinary. Until it wasn't. At some point, I offered her a glass of wine. She hesitated, then said, "Just one." We sat at the kitchen table, our knees almost touching. She laughed at something I said, something dumb about the cabin's terrible plumbing, and for a moment, her whole face softened. Her laugh didn't sound practiced. It sounded like a release. The tension crept in like fog. Barely there, but real. She caught herself looking at me. I noticed how she touched her collarbone when she thought no one was watching. I wasn't immune either, there was something grounding about her presence. She carried the kind of pain that didn't scare me off, it made me curious. "I saw something," she said, abruptly. I looked up. "What do you mean?" "Ron doesn't know yet," she whispered, suddenly guarded. I shouldn't say anything. But I saw something I shouldn't have. I didn't push. Not yet. But I felt the shift. Her shoulders tightened. Her voice dropped. She glanced toward the living room, where my uncle snored softly, then back to me. "Can I trust you?" she asked. I nodded, unsure what I was agreeing to. She took another sip of wine and set the glass down with shaking fingers. "I'm not as strong as I act," she said. "And I'm so tired of keeping secrets. Especially ones that aren't mine." The room felt smaller. Heavier. I could hear my own heartbeat. She looked at me then, really looked, like she was trying to decide something. And that's when I noticed the envelope. It had slid partially out of her purse, its corner marked with a lipstick stain and a name I recognized immediately. Not hers. Not my uncle's. That envelope changed everything. And in that stillness, while my uncle slept 10 feet away, her hand brushed mine under the table. Deliberate. Warm. Unmistakable. And just like that, I knew, this wasn't just a confession. It was the beginning of something neither of us could take back. Elisa's fingers lingered on mine just a second too long. She didn't pull away. I didn't either. The envelope sat between us now, silent but screaming. I didn't ask about it yet. Not because I didn't care, but because I could tell she wasn't ready. And maybe I wasn't either. Instead, I asked softly, "You okay?" She laughed under her breath, shook her head. I don't even know what that means anymore. The oven dinged, but neither of us moved. Her eyes stayed fixed on a crack in the table, her thumb running over the rim of her wine glass, tracing a circle again and again. "I've been married twice," she said, barely above a whisper. Both times I thought I had it figured out. Turns out, I was just someone convenient to come home to. Someone safe. Predictable. Her voice cracked a little. But never someone they stayed faithful to. I didn't know what to say, so I let the silence do the listening. I stopped expecting honesty a long time ago, she added. I just got good at pretending it didn't matter. She finally looked at me, and there was a weight in her gaze, like she was measuring how much she could risk. I nodded slowly. You deserve better than that. Her lip quivered like she wanted to believe it but couldn't quite get there. And you? She asked, gently switching the spotlight. What's your story? I hesitated. I wasn't used to talking about it. I've never been in love, I admitted. Not really. Just distractions. Girls my age, we talk in circles. It's like no one means what they say. Everyone's scared to feel too much. She nodded, knowingly. They probably are. I paused, then added, except right now, this doesn't feel like that. That hung in the air, risky and real. She stood up abruptly, as if she'd let herself get too close. I should go, she said, reaching for her bag. I stood too. Wait. She froze. I don't want this to be some dumb, confused moment we both pretend didn't happen. Her hand tightened around her purse strap. You're Ron's nephew, she said. You're half my age. This is insane. I know, I said. But I'm not a kid. And I think you've been pretending you don't feel this too. She didn't deny it. That told me more than anything. Her shoulders slumped slightly. You make me feel seen. That's dangerous. I stepped closer, careful not to touch her. And you make me feel something I didn't even know I was missing. There was a beat of stillness, then she reached out and gently tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. Her fingers brushed my jaw, soft but electric. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. We were both standing on the edge of something messy, impossible, maybe even wrong. But real. And neither of us was ready to walk away. Elise's hand was still on my face when we heard the creak. A floorboard. From the hallway. We both froze. My uncle's voice, groggy and half-slurred, drifted in, Elise? She stepped back like I'd burned her. The warmth between us vanished, replaced with panic. Shit, she whispered. He wasn't supposed to wake up. I grabbed the envelope off the table and slid it into my back pocket without thinking. Elise straightened her blouse, smoothed her hair, tried to erase the storm from her face in a matter of seconds. I could still feel the heat of her fingertips on my skin. Uncle Ron shuffled in, rubbing his eyes. Smells like pie. You brought dinner? Elise smiled, too wide, too quick. Didn't want you starving. He patted her shoulder as he passed, completely unaware of what he'd just walked in on. You're an angel. She didn't look at me. Not once. She moved like a ghost, putting plates on the table, asking about his blood pressure, laughing at his dumb jokes. But her hands shook every time she touched the silverware. I sat across from them, saying almost nothing, trying to act normal. But my head was screaming. Her touch, her words, the envelope, it all buzzed beneath the surface. Then her phone lit up. A text. One word, where? She snatched it up, thumbed the screen to dark. But not before I saw the name. Greg. Husband. Still in the picture, apparently. My jaw clenched. She caught me looking. Her eyes flashed a warning, don't ask. Ron was rambling about a fishing trip he wanted to take once he healed, completely oblivious. I chewed through a few dry bites of pie, barely tasting it. Then Elise stood. I should go. Greg's expecting me. Ron nodded. Tell the bastard I said hi. She gave a thin smile. Sure. We walked out to the porch together, the air suddenly cool. She stopped near her car, hands in her jacket pockets. I didn't plan any of this, she said quietly. I know. I shouldn't have touched you. You did. She looked at me, eyes glossy. He's not a good man. But I'm still legally tied to him. And Ron, he's like family. This could destroy everything. And what if it's already started? I asked. What if this isn't going away? She stepped closer, just enough that I could smell her perfume again, lavender and wood smoke. Our faces were inches apart. My heart pounded. She leaned in, then stopped. Breathless. Shaking. I can't, she whispered. Not yet. She pulled away fast, climbed into her car, and drove off without another word. I stood there, fists clenched, watching the red glow of her taillights fade into the trees. In my back pocket, the envelope crinkled. I hadn't even opened it yet. But something told me, whatever was inside would only make things worse. I stared at the envelope for 2 days. Didn't open it. Didn't tell Uncle Ron. Didn't hear from Elise. Every time I passed her house, her curtains were drawn. No garden work, no porch lights, no sign of life. It gnawed at me, the silence, the guilt, the unfinished gravity of that almost kiss. Until Friday night. It was nearly midnight. I was pacing the living room, trying to write, trying to distract myself, when headlights lit up the cabin window. Her car. I opened the door before she could knock. She looked wrecked. Eyes red, face pale, jacket barely zipped. No makeup. Just raw. I need to talk, she said. I stepped aside, let her in. She walked straight to the table, sat down like she might collapse. I sat across from her. I told Greg, she said. My stomach dropped. What? Not everything. Just enough. That I needed time. That I wasn't in love with him anymore. She met my eyes. He broke a lamp. Called me every name in the book. Then he packed a bag and left. Are you okay? No, she said flatly. But I'm not lying anymore. A long silence stretched between us. Then I pulled the envelope from my pocket and placed it on the table between us. I didn't open it, I said. But I saw the name. And I think you need to. She stared at it for a long time. Then opened it. Inside were 2 photos. Blurry, but clear enough. One of Greg. Arm around another woman. The other, worse, was of him kissing her. Elise blinked, then let out a shaky laugh. It's his secretary. God, I knew it. I knew it for months, but I let him gaslight me into silence. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't cry. She just looked at me like she'd finally stopped pretending. I wanted to hate you, she whispered. Me? For making me feel something again. For waking something up that I thought was gone forever. I leaned forward. Then don't run from it. She reached across the table, her hand on mine. You make me feel alive, and I hate that it's wrong. It's not wrong, I said. It's just complicated. She stood up, and I followed. Do you even know what you're doing? She asked, voice rising. You're young. This could ruin things with your family. With your uncle. With everything. I know what I'm risking, I said. Do you? Silence. We stood inches apart. The heat was back, fierce, magnetic, unspoken. I want to kiss you, she whispered. Then do it. Her lips parted, her breath caught. She reached up, fingertips barely brushing my neck, then a knock. 3 sharp raps on the door. We froze. She turned toward it, heart pounding loud enough to hear. From outside, a voice cut through the night. Elise? You in there? It was Greg. And he did not sound calm. Elise? You in there? Greg's voice cut like a blade. Sharp. Too calm to be harmless. She backed away from the door instinctively, eyes wide. He shouldn't be here. You told me he left, I said. He did. He wasn't supposed to come back. We both stood there, caught in a moment that had nowhere to go. My uncle snored quietly in the other room. Greg knocked again, harder this time. Elise, open the door. I motioned for her to go upstairs, to hide, to do something. But she didn't move. Instead, she walked to the door and opened it. Greg stepped inside without permission. Tall, well-dressed, all fake smiles and clenched fists. He looked at me, then her, then back to me, like he already knew everything. So this is where you've been hiding, he said. With him? Elise swallowed. You have no right to, no right? He laughed, cold and bitter. You're still my wife. We had a life. A house. And now you're sneaking around with some punk kid while your brother sleeps 10 feet away? Brother? I said, stunned. Elise froze. Greg smirked. She didn't tell you that part? I looked at Elise. Ron is your brother? She nodded slowly, shame bleeding into her face. I didn't mean to lie. I didn't know how to say it. Greg stepped closer. You see now? You're just the latest mistake. She's always doing this, running, making messes, pretending it's love when it's just guilt. Get out, I said. He ignored me. You think she'll stick around for you? You'll be the next sob story in one of her journals. Elise slapped him. A sharp, stinging crack that left all of us breathless. I loved you, she said through gritted teeth. But I can't be erased just because I finally stopped forgiving you. Greg staggered back, hand to his cheek, his ego bruised deeper than his skin. You just made a huge mistake. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I stood there, trying to process everything. Ron, my uncle, was her brother. Not just a neighbor, not just a friend. That made this whole thing even worse. You should have told me, I said quietly. I know. Why didn't you? Because I didn't want it to matter, she said. I wanted one part of my life to feel real, not weighed down by every screwed-up connection. I stepped back. You knew this would blow up. And you let it happen anyway. Because for once, I didn't want to feel numb. She was crying now. Not dramatic sobs. Just silent, steady tears falling down a face trying to hold it all together. I didn't expect you, she whispered. I didn't expect to feel anything for you. And now I don't know how to walk away. I stood frozen, every part of me torn between anger and want, betrayal and belief. From behind us, we heard the unmistakable creak of floorboards. Uncle Ron. Awake. Watching. And he'd heard everything. Uncle Ron stood in the hallway, one hand braced against the wall like he needed it to stay upright. His eyes weren't angry. Worse, they were disappointed. Elise, he said, voice low. Tell me this isn't what it looks like. She didn't speak. The silence between them was sharp enough to bleed. I stepped forward. Ron, he held up his hand. Don't. I heard enough. Elise looked at him, finally. It wasn't planned. I swear to God, Ron. I never meant to hurt you. You're my sister, he said, almost to himself. And you, he turned to me, shaking his head. You were supposed to look after me. Help me. Not this. None of this was about disrespect, I said. I didn't go looking for it. It just happened. He gave a dry, bitter laugh. Things like this don't just happen. Elise stepped forward, her voice breaking. He made me feel human again, Ron. After everything with Greg, I was barely holding it together. You know how bad it got. That doesn't make this okay, Ron said. You crossed a line. Both of you. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheek. I know. He looked at me. And you? You still think this is some kind of summer romance? No, I said, steady. It's not simple. But it's real. And I'm not ashamed of it. Ron turned away, quiet for a long beat. Then he said, you have no idea what kind of mess this could make. Family, friends, the whole town, I don't care, I interrupted. I care about her. That's it. Elise placed a hand on my arm. Maybe we do care. But maybe caring isn't enough. My chest tightened. Don't do that. She looked at me, her eyes full of everything we hadn't said out loud. I don't want to be the reason you lose your family. Or the reason Ron loses his trust in you. Ron stepped aside, quietly retreating to his room without another word. The door shut behind him. Just us now. I can't undo what's happened, she said softly. But I can choose not to make it worse. So that's it? I asked. You're walking away? She reached up, brushing my cheek like she had the first night. No. I'm stepping back. There's a difference. I closed my eyes. Every part of me screamed to fight it. But I didn't. Because she was right. We stood there, close but not touching, breathing in the same silence. Then she whispered, if the timing was different. I opened my eyes. Maybe it still can be. She gave me a small, sad smile. Maybe. She turned and walked to the door. No big goodbye. No drama. Just a quiet exit. And then she was gone. And even though everything hurt, I understood. Sometimes love doesn't come wrapped in a perfect ending. Sometimes it just shows you the parts of yourself you forgot were still alive. It's been 3 months since Elise walked out of that cabin. Since everything changed. Ron and I still talk, but it's quieter now. Less playful. There's a space between us that wasn't there before, like a crack you try to patch, but it still lets in air when the wind hits just right. He never brought it up again. Never asked about her. Never said her name. And I didn't push. I still don't know if he's forgiven me. But I know he hasn't forgotten. Elise moved out of her house a few weeks later. Left Greg for good. Word around town was he went back to Chicago, tail between his legs. No one really misses him. She didn't leave a note. Just a voicemail. I'm going away for a while. I need to find out who I am when no one's looking. Thank you for reminding me I'm still worth something. I listened to that message on repeat for days. Then I deleted it. Because holding on to her voice wasn't the same as holding her hand. The cabin's quiet again. The lakes turned colder. Summer's long gone. But sometimes I still sit on that porch and remember how it all felt, the way she looked at me like I wasn't too young, too naive, too temporary. Like I mattered. I still believe we loved each other. Even if it was brief. Even if it hurt. Love doesn't always mean forever. Sometimes it just means now. Sometimes it's the thing that gets you through the part where everything else falls apart. I haven't seen her since. But I still think about her every damn day. The way her fingers shook when she opened that envelope. The way she whispered, I didn't expect you. The way she made me feel like I was finally someone worth being seen. People like to wrap stories up clean. Neat endings. Clear winners and losers. But that's not this. This story is messy. Complicated. Human. And maybe that's the point. Maybe some love stories aren't meant to be followed, they're meant to be felt. Lived. Remembered. I don't regret a second of it. And if she walked through that door again? I don't know what I'd say. But I'd listen. Because some people mark you in ways no one else can. And that never really fades. So what do you think? Was it wrong? Was it real? Do you believe love has an age limit, or does timing matter more than rules? And most of all, if it were you, standing in that kitchen, heart on the line, would you have stopped her?